not 50% predestination, 50% free will. Jesus says we're 100% predestined and we have 100% free will. This may seem impossible, but God is able to transcend and not distort human freedom. We ultimately see this in the incarnation. Jesus is 100% God and 100% human. He is fully God and fully human. Predestination. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Why God chooses to reveal himself to some and not to others is a mystery. Certainly not based on wisdom and learning. Sometimes the great intellectuals simply cannot see it. You've hidden these things from the wise and learned. And yet sometimes people of little or no education, or those who are very young, little children, seem to have a very profound understanding of Jesus. You've concealed your way from sophisticates and know-it-alls and spelled them out clearly to ordinary people. Free will. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." The invitation to come to Jesus is for everyone. No one is excluded. We are all invited. We all have a choice whether to accept the invitation of Jesus or to refuse it. I find it difficult to get my mind around this paradox. However, I found the following illustration helpful. Imagine a room with an arched doorway. The outside of the arch is inscribed with the word, "Come to me, all you." Everyone is invited into the room. But when you get into the room, on the inside of the same arch is written, "No one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him." In other words, free will is a doctrine for everyone. No one can say, "I'm not going to become a Christian because I've not been chosen." The invitation is to all. On the other hand, predestination is a doctrine of assurance for those who are Christians. Once you've accepted the invitation and entered, you can know that God has chosen you, and therefore he will not let you go. I love the fact that in a stressful world, where so many are weary and burdened, Jesus promises you rest. He offers to take your burdens and place them with his own. The yoke, something that Jesus would have made in the carpenter's shop, was a wooden frame joining two animals, usually oxen, at the neck, enabling them to pull a plough or wagon together. The function of the yoke is to make burdens easier to carry. I love the image of walking in step with Jesus, sharing our burdens, making the trials to be endured and the battles to be faced easy and light by comparison. Jesus is not a slave driver. When you pursue his agenda for your life, you carry a burden, but it's not harsh, hard, sharp, or pressing, but comfortable, gracious, and pleasant. When you do what Jesus asks you to do, he gives you the strength and wisdom to do it, and you carry his burden with him. There will, of course, be many challenges and difficulties, but there will also be a lightness and ease. Jesus says to you, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Just relax and let God be God." Lord, thank you that you promised me rest for my soul. I come to you today. I give to you my burdens. Old Testament from Genesis 29:30. Watch God work his purposes out. God works his purposes out in spite of our weakness, vulnerability, and sin. Jacob was a deceiver. What we sow, we reap. He sowed deception, and he reaped deception from Laban. He then continued the cycle of deception. This is an extraordinary story of deception, unfaithfulness, and disloyalty. Yet somehow, in all of this, God worked his purposes out for the individuals involved, for Israel, for the birth of his son, Jesus, and for the future of the people of God. A lot of human sin and disappointment was involved in the birth of Jacob's children. Yet through it all, God was working out his purposes for the 12 tribes of Israel. Rachel's prayer was finally answered with the birth of Joseph. As God was in control of their lives, you can trust that he is ultimately in control of yours as well, and that in all things God works for the good for those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. So just relax and let God be God. Lord, thank you that you use even weak, vulnerable and sinful people like me. Thank you that although you love me as I am, you love me too much to leave me as I am. Help me to take responsibility for my life and at the same time confidently trust in your sovereignty.
Pippa adds, I'm really enjoying reading Genesis 29 and 30. The story is much better than watching the latest Netflix drama. What will they do next? It's interesting that Sarah, Rebecca and Rachel all had difficulty having children. This is not a new problem. When the children eventually arrived, they were very important to God's plan for the people of Israel. Was God waiting for the right time, or was he preparing the parents in some way? Most of Jacob's children seem to have been born as a result of sibling rivalry and jealousy. Yet God didn't give up on them, and he still managed to work out his purposes for each of their lives.
The Lord reigns forever. He has established his throne for judgment. He rules the world in righteousness and judges the peoples with equity. The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you, for you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. Sing the praises of the Lord, enthroned in Zion. Proclaim among the nations what he has done. For he who avenges blood remembers. He does not ignore the cries of the afflicted. To what can I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the pipe for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came, neither eating nor drinking, and they say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by her deeds. Then Jesus began to denounce the towns in which most of his miracles had been performed, because they did not repent. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon on the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted to the heavens?
No worries.
No, you will go down to Hades.
I've got you covered. Just tell me how many hours you want to squeeze out of each second.
It would have remained to this day. But I tell you that it will be more bearable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you. At that time Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned, and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this is what you were pleased to do. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Genesis 29. Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the open country, with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water